Judge today ruled that the prosecution cannot retry the suspect in Samantha Woll's murder, saying a second felony murder trial would constitute double jeopardy. Our legal expert, Rick Convertino, is here in studio to break down today's decision. Thank you for joining us. First, maybe could you explain a little bit about what got us to today's decision?
Yeah, the case was originally charged with 3 counts regarding the homicide. There was a first and second degree murder charge, and then there was a home invasion resulting from death, which would have been a felony murder. The facts of the home invasion, which the jury could not reach a conclusion or could not reach a verdict during their deliberations, resulted in a hung jury. He was acquitted of the first degree murder and included the second degree as well as the lesser included offense, and therefore double jeopardy would have attached based upon the facts of the underlying case and the overlapping facts between the elements of the acquitted offense and the non-jury deliberated offense. So in sum and substance, based on a Supreme Court case, U.S. v. Yeager was in 2009, the judge was essentially constrained and could not allow the case to proceed based on double jeopardy grounds.
Was this surprising to you, or did it seem like that was the only outcome in your opinion?
It wasn't surprising to me for 2 reasons. First of all, the case law was pretty clear and concise. U.S. v. Yeager, the Supreme Court case. In fact, the prosecution in filing its motion said that they understood that the case law constrained the judge and required a dismissal on the 2 counts. But they opined that the Supreme Court of the United States was wrong. So that was the prosecution's position, which is feckless and untenable, and therefore, the judge ruled obviously regarding the U.S. Supreme Court case. But the other reason that I was pretty convinced beyond peradventure in my mind, this case should have never been tried, should have never been charged. There wasn't even probable cause to sustain the 2 charges that were dismissed today. There was no evidence at all, none, that the putative defendant in this case ever entered that apartment at all. It was pure speculation. There was no proofs adduced at trial. In fact, there was some evidence that there was obviously someone else in that apartment who committed the stabbing, but none of that evidence that they recovered came back to this defendant. So he was in the wrong place at the wrong time, and I think not only was he not guilty, I think he was innocent of these charges.
Wow.
And I said that, I said that early on.
What happens next? Does the prosecution go after another suspect, or what's going to happen?
Well, they should. You got this crackpot ex-boyfriend of hers who admitted to the homicide himself. For whatever reason, he was given immunity in this case, which is extremely unusual. He testified that he did admit to the crime. He had motive, he had intent, he had purpose, he had plan, but the only thing he didn't have was the actual actus reus, or act, because he was delusional. He was on some kind of antipsychotic medication at the time, along with marijuana that made him, have this psychotic break that where he supposedly, uttered this nonsense about the confession to the murder. So I think they should relook this case, take a hard step back, and reassess the evidence, because I do think that it's a solvable crime.
And what's going to happen with the suspect?
The defendant was sentenced today he was sentenced today to 18 months to 15 years on the underlying offense that he essentially confessed to at trial, which is a false statement to a police officer. So he was sentenced to that. He'll serve his sentence, and then he'll go on his way, and I'm sure maybe he'll write a book or something, who knows.
All right, well, thank you so much for taking the time to help us understand
My
all
pleasure.
of this. Rick Convertino, thank you again.
Thank you.